Welcome. My name is Alexander, and this is a Let's Play of Riven, the sequel to Myst. Kind of following up on my 2013, 10 years ago now, Let's Play of Real Myst, the sort of remastered version, or a remastered version of the classic adventure game Myst. But this time, I'm not doing it by myself because my brother Ian is here with me.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, this is 10 years after I did my Let's Play of Real Myst, and about a quarter of a century, or pretty nearly, after we were originally playing Myst and Riven as kids, in sort of the very late 80s, early 90s. We were just talking about how we had it had been out for a little while, as you said, before we got it. I remember actually seeing it in was it the world's biggest bookstore in Toronto, and Dad was like major hyping it to us, but it wasn't until a little later that we got the box set of both Myst and Riven together.
We were probably a bit skeptical.
Yeah, it's I think we were raised with a certain level of hype aversion. I mean, like, I can throw stones when it comes to overselling things, but anyway, yeah. So this, and to be honest, I just remember the degree that when you had them back to back, Myst felt like it was just sort of like almost like it felt less like Riven was the sequel to Myst and more like Myst was the prequel to Riven, if you see what I mean.
Yeah,
because
more like a tech demo than anything. Once you got to the
and as you were remarking, the scale is on a whole other level, or it certainly was for us, or seemed that way at the time. Anyway,
well, let's fire it up. Let's get some of those sweet graphics.
Yeah, this is as they were. So this is the main menu. Looks roughly as it did. Actually, now that I say that, I can't remember if back in the day, like on the CD-ROM version, you had to go to the top of the screen and get the drop-down menu, whereas the Steam version has a proper modern start menu. But in any event, let's begin. New game, because I was just looking at a save game a minute ago. Of course, Ubisoft didn't enter the equation until Myst 3, but now they've kind of done it retroactively. Oh, here we go.
Universal Pictures logo.
Yeah, I know, right? They got to have been doing that on purpose, but...
This is some shades of POV Ray 3D modeling.
Right, yeah. Wasn't Dad playing around with that around this same time?
Probably.
Yeah, or something like it anyway. I just remember a lot of like metallic orbs rendered in a computer program. There's the masters, eh? Oh.
Cutting edge.
Yeah, here's the man himself.
Thank God you've returned. I need your help. There's a great deal of history that you should know, but I'm afraid that I must continue my writing. Here. Most of what you'll need to know is in there. Keep it well hidden. For all reasons you'll discover, I can't send you to Riven with a way out. But I can give you this. It appears to be a linking book back here to Dunny. But it's actually a one-man prison. You'll need it, I'm afraid, to capture Gan. Once you've found Catherine, signal me, and I'll come with a linking book to bring us back. There's also a chance, if this all goes well, that I might be able to get you back to the place that you came from.
Here goes.
I just want to point out that, as far as I remember, there was no context to any of the instructions you just gave us, including capturing Gen and saving Catherine. Up to this point, we've never heard of.
It was sort of hinted at the end of Myst, but like he talks about fighting a foe and oh my poor Catherine and stuff like that. So you kind of got the sense of something wrong. But
Well, yeah, and I guess he leaves that message for Catherine in the little hollow chamber. But
yeah. Here's what's his name. Well, we have no idea of his name.
not going to matter in a second.
Yeah. I remember reading somewhere at the time that that this gentleman is actually speaking like a West Coast indigenous language, but I don't know which one or whether that's true or not. I remember the first time we saw that, I thought opening that book had done something to him, but I didn't hear the dart hit him.
Dart, throwing knife, invisible death ray, they're all good.
Yeah. Here comes your favorite guy.
Might not necessarily be a guy.
That is a good point that I am embarrassed I've never thought of until now.
Freedom.
Yes.
Horrible, horrible freedom.
One fandom at a time. Alright, here we are. So we merge into Riven. Man, I never get sick of this view. Okay, that part's kind of sad, but I mean, I never thought it was meant to imply he was dead, just like, you know, drugged or whatever, but still. I think it's actually established later, like we read Gen's diary, and he's interrogating that guy after the fact. So, well, maybe he was dead after. Maybe he was dead after that, but he isn't now. And there's this whole thing. So this is like, not that you make the connection straight away, or at least we didn't, but like, you know, the very beginning of Myst is him telling this apparently completely disconnected story about falling into a star fissure and losing his Myst book, which is the one we find which initiates the plot of Myst. And then, you know, it turns out we're walking on it, but I don't think we knew that until later. This is one of those, like, just little things you can just look down this crevice here and it doesn't do anything, but it's just like, I love that they built in a couple of like views that you don't need to see, but are just nice.
It's also like starting you right in front of the I don't know what it's called, but the telescope thing.
Yeah.
It's classic Cyan Worlds design where they say like, okay, here's your first stop, and here's some sort of a puzzle machine to figure out, and you spend, you know, your first hour of the game trying to all the knobs and buttons and various settings on it, thinking like, what am I missing? What does this do? And then you find out you're not supposed to do anything with it until the end of the game.
Exactly. Well, it was that that meme cover of Myst you see going around the internet every once in a while. Instead of like, it's the cover of the CD case, but instead of saying Myst, it says what, and underneath it's, what the F does this lever do? I've been stuck here for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But in terms of puzzles you actually get to do something with, this is where it's at right at the beginning here. So.
Yeah, again, there's a button. What does that button do? Push that button.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what I said with...
Push it.
When I was doing my Let's Play of Myst, that's what I said. It's like, basic interface is look at things, click on things.
You have to wonder about the poor inhabitants of this island who were instructed to build this bizarre rotating room.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that it oddly enough gets to it's one of the ways in which I find Riven kind of transcends Myst. I mean, it does it in a lot of ways, but in particular, when I remember it specifically when I was doing the. This isn't getting us anywhere, is it?
Well, go look through the hole, see what it did.
So yeah, there's at least one other door in there. I guess there are two in there. Like I remember when I was doing my Let's Play and I was doing the Seleneta Gauge minecart ride thing. And, as taxing as that can be, what really jumped out at me at thinking about it is like the way it's established in Myst. Atris, who sent us on our mission at the beginning there, is, basically lives alone on Myst Island with his wife and his kids, and single-handedly built this underground tram ride, or pretty nearly single-handedly. Whereas at least Gen, who's ruling over Riven, has an underclass that he can work, a labor class he can make do stuff. So that always helped with the suspension of disbelief a little bit, I think. So we take a look at these. Oh, there he is giving building instructions by the looks of things. And, yeah. Like right away, like you haven't even seen Gen yet. Unless you go right to reading the diary, you don't even have an inkling of who he is.
But there's clearly a religious element to what's going on here.
Yeah. And the fact that, the guy is building religious elements to himself tells you something about his ego.
You don't necessarily know he's building them to himself yet.
Yeah, I guess. But, I mean, this despite being my absolute favorite image, like I use this as a profile picture in a bunch of different platforms, it still makes you go, oh boy, you've got a high opinion of yourself. I mean, this is, like, because this was one of the little retcons of the original Myst is, and the point is made in the diary that we're carrying with us. Like that image actually, hold on, let's look at that again. Because like here's presumably Gen hovering over with a book and a halo. It's like, holy Dinah. Is like one of the first points that's made. I think we've come full circle now, or have we? Oh, no, we haven't. Oh, and here's the beginning of the prologue to the Myst game. It's like the ground splitting open. Presumably that's Atris in his Myst book. And he's making it look like he banished him instead of being marooned by him, which is what actually happened.
Whoa, spoilers.
Yeah, well... I don't think we could possibly be circumspect enough talking about this not to let a few spoilers out. But, and I'm also not going to necessarily subject anyone who watches this Let's Play to us just reading the diary out loud, at least not yet. But, anyway. But, what was that?
Agreed, that would be.
Oh, yes. Usually
Hello
what I would...
and pedantic.
Yes, good. I think what I would usually do is get it, just open the diary and flip through the pages, and anyone who actually wants to read them can just, like, pause.
I'm sure you can find transcripts online.
Also,
so worth noting here that there are two doors, but they don't line up the same way.
No,
so you have to keep rotating it to get to the certain passages.
Yeah, well, and of course, we do have another option, which I'm not sure is open yet, as we go down here. Anyway, what I was saying a minute ago was the retcon that's made in this diary that we're carrying is that Atris asserts that when he writes books that link to other worlds, he's not creating the other worlds. Even all which is actually undercut by the events in Myst, where he tries to write a description of a ship into the Stone Ship Age, and it doesn't work quite right. And it's like, well, if you weren't creating things, how did that happen? And same goes for the origins of the Starfisher, if you dig into the lore. But this is just, you know, the natural consequence of the Miller brothers and Cyan developing the lore for this, and just kind of, you know, doing it on the fly a little bit.
Why are we looking at this door right now?
Because I don't know if this is I don't know if that's like a complete CG render or what, but because it just looks so damn photorealistic when it does that. Anyway,
You can sneak under it.
Yeah. And then now you've got, there we go. And so now we have steam vent.
Man, I totally forgot about this.
Well, it's one of those things that's a theme in Riven, as we'll see, that like there's all these things you need to do, but you don't know why you're doing them, and you might not know why you're doing them. And I think that was part of our problem, is that, of course, it was very easy to forget what you'd done until not realize that you'd laid groundwork for something that you were able to do later, and you didn't know why you were able to do it.
For instance, so what we've done here is rotated the room in such a way that we can sneak in through a side passage to get to another secret passage that otherwise you would never know is there.
Yeah, because they don't.
Because the room never lines up. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. This I don't like is like all the other perspectives that have a rotate the room button. You can't look at it while it's rotating, and it's just kind of frustrating. Anyway,
it might have been an afterthought, and they didn't want to animate.
I suppose I can respect that. But,
the number 5, obviously, very recurring in this game, and I find it interesting that the little peephole stones, when you're facing the rotating room, have 5 blocks in them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, I know the actual joke was this is like Cyan's 5th game, because they made, I forget.
Cosmic Osmo.
I forget, there were 2 other ones, then Myst, then this. So like what we're doing with these levers here is raising the gates or whatever that you can see through, or grills, that's what I was looking for, the grills that are locking off certain paths but letting you see through them, as we've already witnessed.
Yeah. This is making for some really good television right here.
I'm sure.
And like, there's nothing to say that you actually have to do this part now. Like, you didn't even need to really stop and interact with this room yet, but it is laying the groundwork to make getting around easier later.
No, exactly. Well, and like, you know, when you're playing the game for the first time, like, what else are you gonna do? You want to just pounce on this and figure out what's going on. So, like, if I were to do that again, tell you what I'll do, just to...
Yeah, there's a button you can skip this, right?
Yeah.
That's good too.
Yeah, but...
Prolong our suffering.
The pause function's a new one. I didn't even know that was a thing. I hit the space bar for that.
And what part of this game needs to be paused, you know?
Yeah, I know. That is so weird. It's like...
Just stand perfectly still for a while, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like there's a death condition. Well, not like that anyway. So just to demonstrate the point here a little bit. There we go.
Hey. And now this enormous solid gold dome that we didn't notice before.
Yeah, right. I think, in fairness, I think it's just brick painted with gold, but yeah. And for some reason, the water is glowing. Yeah.
I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say it's some sort of bioluminescent algae.
I was gonna say, like, I always got the impression the Myst developers did kind of, or the Riven crew at least, maybe not the Myst team so much, really had a thing for bioluminescence.
On the off chance that anyone is watching this trying to get like a walkthrough, you know, solve a puzzle, once again, none of this had to be done now. This is laying groundwork for later.
Yeah, No, this is just finding doors to walk through. That doesn't do anything at the moment. So. Well, there's all these steam vents that are just sitting here. So may as well use them. Yeah, and I have on subsequent playthroughs. Like I try to play this like once a year kind of thing, and just take a moment to enjoy the scenery. And I have occasionally just absent-mindedly forgotten to, or done things in a different order, so that I'll hit the steam vents that have the little bridge icon symbol on them, and I've already thrown the switch for the bridge, so just spontaneously it just falls into position because I gave it power suddenly. Anyway, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that the other way around from what I usually do. All right, we're not going over there yet, clearly. So, like, I could do this.
So helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just as you say, for anyone who actually does end up watching this so that they know what's happening. But it's like, yeah, but at the moment, that is not a good idea.
Yeah, you need the catwalk behind you to the left to be extended to then get out of the gold dome.
Yep.
But you need to get into the top of the gold dome using that staircase.
Pretty much, yep. But more on that in a little bit. But for now, I think that's all we can do here. But yeah,
that's probably more than I would have done. I would have stumbled around and then gone straight out of here.
I just can't get over the way that they let you just take in the scenery. And I remember as a kid, like, obsessing over, like, I always get obsessed with, like, the ecology and the anthropology of fictional worlds if they're really well done, and Riven is very much the root of that. And we'll get into that way later in this process. The only place I've seen in real life, like, I used to be obsessing over, like, where is this based on? Is this a real place? Because, like, with Myst, it was obvious. Like, you know, it's big old pine trees and, you know, rocky islands. Is like, yeah, you know that the developers are from the West Coast, so it's like, yeah, no prizes there. But the only place I've been to that looks like Riven is the Greek islands. It was in Santorini back in 2008.
This is the scariest chair in the game.
I know. Well, and then, you know, it's only now when you go down the hall that you realize it's a freaking announcement system, although I suppose the old-fashioned, whatchamacallit.
What does that lever do?
Yes, what does that lever do? Good question. It opens a door.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're making progress already.
I guess it's conceivable. I mean, we never did this, but, like, the door into here is very easy to see. I don't know how many people, you know, go past it, and, I don't think we gain anything by sitting in that right now. Like, you sit in that and you hit buttons and, like, there's a buzzing sound, but...
It looks like a trap.
It 100% looks like a trap, except that Cyan... Well, Cyan games never kill you violently.
You can get trapped, though.
You can certainly get trapped. I mean, it's not like the... say, like, anti-door thingy here. But it's not like those, you know, the stereotypical adventure game by companies like Sierra, where you can accidentally make the game unwinnable and not notice. Yeah. Alright, so this is, like, where we start seeing... I feel like we're starting seeing culture more than anything else. You got what we'll come to know as the Warks statues with their offerings in front of them. But, it's weird though, right? Because you start to wonder as you get older and you understand more what's happening. Like, how much of this is the authentic culture of the people of Riven, and how much of this is imposed on them, like a missionary imposing an outside religion by Gen, which is the religion happens to be him.
Well, if we push that blue button, maybe we'll find out.
Just possible. I love this. To build such anticipation.
They're here it comes. They're building, or they're making like a
Remaster.
Yes, of Riven.
I think so. I think what originally... Hold on. Just let this thing park.
not sure I feel super confident about a frame system that requires a huge rubber bumper.
Yeah, right. I guess be ready for anything. But can we go over here? We can't go over here. Neat. I did not realize that.
That's actually what I was
Yes.
asking, because if there's a remastery, they might do like the what they did with Real Myst or whatever it was called, where
Yeah.
you can kind of just freely walk around and
Yeah.
presumably fall off cliffs.
I think what happened was, like, originally, I think it was you told me about it originally, was the Starry Expanse project, which was like a crowdfunded, like, fan-led attempt to do like a full 360 rendered remaster of Riven. Because like Riven is still in the old style of you basically are clicking your way between a very, very precise slideshow of photographs.
Even the Myst 3 system would have been preferable, where it was you still had to click, but in each position that you stood in, you had 360-degree movement.
Yeah, totally. I think so. That's how it started, and then, not surprisingly, like, COVID rolled around and they kind of went quiet for a while, because, like, didn't we all? But I think what happened was that Cyan itself, the company that originated the Myst games, actually just bought out the project and brought it into the official fold.
Mm-hmm.
But that means that they can't do, like Kickstarter backers updates or whatever anymore, because, they gotta, keep it proprietary.
Well, I mean, Cyan kickstarts their stuff now. Their last couple games have been kickstarted, so
what did they do?
I don't know. I get their emails all the time, and there's updates about what they're working on. But
okay, yeah, I thought that was the story. I mean, I could have that wrong, but that was the way I understood it. Anyway,
get on the flying fish.
Yeah, time for the most fun part of the first part of Riven.
That sound effect is very nostalgic. Is that the word?
Yeah, I mean, for me, all of the sound design for Myst games is nostalgic. It's like, look, it's certainly the first three. It's like Star Wars. So much of its identity is bound up in sound. I mean, like I've said, well,
the Switch.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say that, like, our ever since we discovered the Myst games, I feel like I find deep artistic meaning in creaky door hinges.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right, away we go.
Whee!
Oh, this was so much fun back in the day.
It's just so high tech, the animation on this. Like, it's just so much more advanced than.
Well, there's that attention to detail. Like, if you notice it really, really quick, like the way that the degree to which they thought the design through, like, it's blink and you miss it, but the last sort of pylon thing that we passed over on the way over had like a switch in it, so that we run over it, it flips the switch and automatically starts slowing it down. Turns the power off. So, like, they thought of everything.
Please insert disc 3.
Yeah, exactly. Before I started the recording, we were talking about how in the old days, this is the point where you had to switch the CDs, because this game was so honking gigantic that was the only way they could do all of it was to put it on 5 CD-ROM discs.
Yes, although interestingly, it started with disc 2.
Yes, I'm trying to remember what the reason was for that, and I don't recall. But so here we are in a place, and here is a thing.
It sounds like a frog.
Sounds like a frog, and if one knows the Denis number symbols, then that was the number 3. So, but
who would know that?
Well, you know what was funny was I remember like it was thanks to this game that we first discovered walkthroughs, of course. All right, so we head up this passage here to start with, and I know every time you and I talk about Riven, I never stop talking about how photorealistic the textures are, because I guess because they took like photographs of like walls and stuff and mapped them over the digital shapes, and this is one of the spaces that just gets to me in exactly that way. So, also, if we turn around, interesting to note that ball we just spun around is an eye in a froggy sort of shape. So that's worth knowing.
Which may or may not be relevant to solving the puzzle later.
Maybe. Just maybe. To this day, I am not at all... yeah, and I am still not at all clear what this button does. Sometimes I think they put a couple of... Like, obviously, like, earlier we used it to summon the maglev, but I'm genuinely wondering sometimes if this one's just there for the sake of being there.
I swear we figured it out once, I just don't know.
Maybe it's
what it was.
Yeah, maybe it's the lumber cart. Maybe that's what it does.
Sure.
Alright, do we go up or down?
Did we do the Sunners already?
Well, well, I was trying to maintain the illusion that we hadn't done this yet. So let's come down here and take a look at one of our favorite things in Riven.
The penguins. The long penguins.
The long penguins. Oh man, this looked just so mind-blowingly realistic at the time. Still does, relatively speaking, but
kind of funny in retrospect. Looking at it now, thinking like, yes, that perfectly still plasticky water. So real.
Yeah, when you get closer to it, it does do that very basic sort of, well, wavering effect, but yeah, realistic is still not the word I'd use. So let's see if we can get a little closer.
Oh, you blew it.
Yeah, yes. Although, having said that, it is at least as much fun to scare them away from over here, because now you can see them swimming away. There we go. They're like a cross between, they've got the beak of a flamingo and the body of a plesiosaur.
It seems to me they've got like little, things that whales have.
Blowholes?
No, like the brushy teeth for plankton and things.
baleen. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word that I totally knew.
No.
Walk around behind this thing.
Yeah. Because did we ever find this back in the day? I don't think we did.
If we did, we didn't know what we were looking at the time, and
yeah,
you kind of wouldn't anyway. This early.
Well, no, but of course that's the fascinating thing about Riven is that you don't at first. So. All right, so that's a thing. That sounded like a whale, and indeed, sort of looks like one. More on that as we proceed. But in any event,
we're developing a trend here of that little orb thing corresponding with a.
Yeah, and having a symbol on the back, which if you're just coming in, of course you don't know what it is yet. But
yeah, but you should be writing it down in your journal that came with the game.
Yes, at least our edition it did. Let's see.
All right, we're done here.
Yeah. Like you say, the ripple effects are pretty basic, not terrible. But Myst 3 definitely, I think, had slightly better ones. So another narrow passageway. Oh, I thought we were going to get in trouble coming through here, but so we filled this. Fair play that yeah, we did indeed have to record this twice due to technical learning curve. But yeah, we've got now another one of these.
Write that down.
Yeah, I'm doing it. And makes a sort of a buzzy sound, and I guess this is meant to be the well. It's a very shallow well, but
could just be a kiddie pool. It's like half sandbox, half.
That's true, actually. I hadn't thought of that before. So we have down here. I love the views around here, but let's and And then
Water with holes in it.
yeah, it's like, what is happening? Alright, so we've got the little submersible thing, but I tell you what, we haven't explored enough in the other direction, so I don't want to get overcommitted to looking at this.
Oh, come on, we came this far.
Yeah, you're right, what the heck. We'll explore the rest of this later, but we'll get some good views from down here, too. So, I think... Yeah, there we go.
You'll notice that this little submarine is not controlled by a Logitech controller.
Ouch. That is cold.
So topical, depending on when this comes out.
Yeah, accurate, but cold. Alright, so this is
How
something I
cold?
never did. I don't know, Arctic.
Hey,
So I don't do this very often, but turn around at this point. Zoom over here and just see what's what. I swear every now and again there's like another place you can take the cart that I forget about. Honestly, I would, if this machine actually existed, I would totally get one.
Seems pretty sturdy.
Uh-oh. Ah, I see, okay. The pier, or whatever you call this, is retracted. Uh-huh. Interesting to see it from this perspective, and here's the village. It's little round beehive houses. We're clearly not going any further that way. Oh, no, that's as far as this is the end of the line. Okay. This is one of those things where there's a couple of them that you learn I think we learned by landmarks, but it's just complicated enough. There's another thingammy that I always feel like I have to relearn it every time I do this.
Well, for me, it's been over a decade.
I'm very much. This is my. If I were Christopher Lee, this would be my Lord of the Rings.
You would make a metal album about it.
Maybe. No, I was going to say I play at least the first 3 Myst games probably once a year on average.
In case you're wondering, that thermometer looking dude out on the side does nothing.
Yeah, I always wonder, what is that supposed to be? A pressure gauge or something? Or air pipe or air tank?
It's greebling.
Oh yeah, I just remembered that word the other day. I was like, what do you call that thing? They're doing like 4 cubes and stuff in Star Trek. That was it.
I believe it was initially invented by Star Wars, but yes. Ah, you blew it again.
Ah, dang it. Alright, down we go. So yeah, initially you're kind of like, wait, what are we doing? There's nothing to do here. So...
there should be, there's one spot you go to?
At least one. Let's see if we can find it.
Was it not forward and to the left? I've gotten lost now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe, but let's try this. Oddly enough, I haven't had to move the slider that decides whether you go left or right fork yet, because it's all been right turns. Although that option does exist. There we go.
We'll edit this out if it ends up being incredibly boring.
Yeah, that's fair. Alright, well, let's find out.
Hey, this is going to be back where we started, isn't it? Oh,
Nope.
oh.
No, remember where we started, the view was seaweed. This is what I mean, like, you have to memorize, like, landmarks. Or, what do you call it, watermarks? Whatever. Undersea landmarks. Submarine landmarks.
Alright.
So we come up here, and we have this we actually have this phenomenal view of the basin that has the, or whatever you call this, that has the village in it. So that there is where we left from. Hopefully the cursor's showing up.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't me anyway.
Yeah. And then I think we were here and here. And now we're, well, down here somewhere, presumably. And then there's all these switches, so if I flip them up, and it's like insanely subtle, but like it has extended all the little piers there. I think you could be forgiven for not noticing that, but I mean, okay, this is just bugging me. Hold on. I'm just gonna switch one of those, and yeah, I can't even,
one that you're standing on.
Yeah, I can't even tell.
There's no downside to having them all extended.
Yeah,
so.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's just subtle enough that I'm wondering, it's like, how is anyone supposed to see that? But yeah,
we had much longer attention spans in the 90s or 2000s, whenever this came out.
A little bit of both for us, I think. But yes, distressingly, this is true. Anyway.
You can't Google Riven anymore because you just get League of Legends characters.
You can't Google Riven anymore because you get what?
League of Legends characters. 1997.
Yeah. I try it, well, funnily enough, I remember Googling Riven, looking for, like, fan sites in, it would have been, like you said, the early 2000s. And I kept getting screenshots from the then newly released Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, because it thought I meant Rivendell. Yeah.
Oh, early Google. You're so silly.
Yes. Also, I've said this before, but every now and again it sneaks up on me that, like, I keep thinking of all of the, like, defining media of yours and my sort of childhood, adolescence, and it's things like Lord of the Rings, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the Myst games, and I keep forgetting that they all overlap. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that's another one. And every now and again I have to remember, oh yeah, those were all going at the same time, because somehow they get sort of extended in my memory.
Well, yes and no. I mean, DS9 started in 93, Riven came out in 97, so Myst probably came out in 95? Maybe 94?
Yeah, something like that. So I just slid the slider on the bottom to the other side, because now we took the first fork, and now we're going to take the other one.
Remind me, where are we trying to get to right now? The school?
The schoolhouse, yes, but I wanted to make a quick pit stop here.
At the convenience store to pick up some smokes.
Pick up something. Yeah.
Finally, a ladder.
There we go. Clang.
Way more ominous than it seems.
Yeah, not that that's clear at this early stage, but it will make sense momentarily. Yeah. So, I'm trying to remember, there it goes again. I'm gonna look up. There's like a sort of rope thing there. Anyway, more on that in a while, but it's a really random thing to latch onto, but like there's something just very, very accurate about all of the different kinds of seaweed growing on the bottom of this thing. Yeah, I don't know, it's just one of those little things that adds verisimilitude to the environment design in Myst games. Taking away somewhat from the fact that it stops moving when you do, but still. But yeah, it always strikes me as weird that, and like I know next to nothing about the tech of computer graphics, but it always strikes me as funny that you and I are now living in the era of, trying to get video games to be as photorealistic as possible. And yet, to the best of my knowledge, they don't do that by taking actual photograph textures to their geometry, which worked, it's on standard def now, so it doesn't work perfectly, but we're back where we started. Good gracious, I didn't think that's where we were.
I think you need to take all rights.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're left. I think you're right. Whatever. Yeah, well, this is where we started from, but going in the opposite direction, so that might render some level of difficulty, but... Okay, so I can see the cage tower thing there, so I guess it means I need to turn around. Because I thought we definitely were starting from where we started just then, but I thought we were facing the other direction, but I thought that would make a difference, but I guess not. Honestly, this would make a great, like, ride to do in, like, a big public aquarium or something.
Yeah.
They have the Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto. They have the moving tunnel, the tunnel with the conveyor belt floor, so you can be just standing there idling along, and then you look up and it's like, oh look, there's a saw shark on top of me. And that is not a sentence people get to use very often. Alright, I think, yes, here we are.
Hey.
Yeah. So I remember having a random thought when we were playing this as kids that like this thing was meant to be like a school bus or something, but
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but it's nowhere near big enough. I mean, as we'll see more of this, is like this is another thing where like Gen is having this place built to his own convenience and not necessarily anybody else's.
Place is falling apart.
Yeah, could be worse. I mean, well, like the building, but yes, like the islands in general. True. I love it. This is still like one of my favorite all-time environments in Riven, just because it. I don't think we fully grasped, or at least I didn't, the full implications of it, because this is the kind of thing that made me study archaeology when I was older. Was, trying to glean details about people from their material culture, and like this is nothing but material culture. But what I didn't understand at the time was how much of this is an imposition by Gen onto the people here, and how much is theirs, up to and including this.
Terekoi Danni, Kibayem Revat, Arroyem Betik Tavom, Gabodona Gayem.
Suddenly he's looking all imperious.
I heard if you crank it backwards, it plays Led Zeppelin 4.
So I don't get that. Is like that him like is that his recording to say to greet the school children every morning, and then the teacher?
I like a Pledge of Allegiance sort of thing.
Like a what now?
The American thing. You know, where they get up every day and say like how great their flag is.
Oh yeah. No, that's it exactly. And then we have this nightmare, which is equal parts ingenious and horrifying. So we do this. I thought playing Hangman at school was grim. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. So
I totally forgot this is how you learn the numbers. I thought it was just like a notepad.
Well, I mean, we definitely had to make notes of what it was showing us, but yeah, like it's just like a combination of pictograms meaning different numbers. So that was 7. Now we do this again. I think this is 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. And then
E for 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was like, yeah, right. What was that Uru that kind of ran with that image later?
That's
2,
4.
3, 4. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
I remember because it looks like the number 4 but upside down.
Yeah, that right.
Inside a square. That probably sounded an insane statement out of context. The square is always there, and then the shape inside the square is what makes it the 2. It looks like a 2.
2, and the first one was that curve with a line through it. So the just with the line through it, like we see in the home screen, is 5. As we said earlier, like 5 is the kind of running joke throughout the entire game. But yeah, so like you can gradually put it together. There's still a couple of the more complicated complicated ones I've never been able to make any sense of, and judging from what I found online, a good portion of the fandom hasn't made sense of. But then we know this is where things get grim, or I think this is about where they're going to get grim. Oh, so this would be 9.
I just want to point out that my guy is the guy on the right, and your guy is the guy on the left.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
and like, I mean, that sounds like a funny game, and then you remember, and then you think about that tower across the way and that loud bang that happens when you walk onto it, which I was never entirely sure if that was meant to represent us, like, stepping on it, but, well, no, because Myst doesn't go in for giving the character footsteps like Journeyman Project 3 does, or the point of view character, I suppose I should say, yeah, so the implication was, I thought one of these things is under there, and they just couldn't animate it or whatever, and that was it, ramming its head against the cage, poor thing. So that's one way to teach kids their numbers, I suppose. And I guess up here is meant to be their letters. But yeah, what we'll learn later, what we learn from the diary, if nothing else, is like, not that I necessarily processed this at the time, is that these are Dani civilization letters and numbers, not Rivenese ones. So it's it suddenly makes this space a lot darker, living in Canada as we do, that this is like Gen's answer to a residential school or something.
That is dark.
Yeah, well, I don't know that we registered that when we were younger, but that's fair enough.
Well, I also don't know that it's
I don't think
unique
it's
to say that like an outsider is going to come live among a native population and be worshipped as a god.
Oh, granted, yeah. I mean, it's not that. I mean, that's clearly not what they were going for. But it's an unintentional resonance.
Kind of a Heart of Darkness sort of vibe.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know that there's anywhere else to go with this thing right now.
No, none where that we haven't been. Sometimes I've parked this thing on the boardwalk instead, just for convenience's sake. I'll see if I can do that again, because it's just easier to access that way. Well, no, maybe not. I'll see if this is the right one, but I want to experience it in the order that we used to habitually experience it, so I want to go back past the Sunners, maybe, to do that. Well, maybe not. Let's see. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm having trouble remembering what we've covered already, so... We look at 5 spokes on the wheel.
Yeah, right. No, that's fine. I mean, I want to maintain the spontaneity if I can. Oh yeah, we are back where we started. Okay. So yeah, sometimes if I can figure out how, I'll park it on the little wide bit of the boardwalk that's just here on the side, because it's a little more convenient later. But for now, this will do.
It's not that hard to find.
Nah. Yeah. Reverse course, and the Sunners are never here if you come this way, I notice. It's just
didn't want to animate that frame.
I guess. I always found it kind of fascinating. Like, as I said before, I always like fixate on these imaginary worlds ecologies, and I just always find it funny that there's a chickadee in the background.
So exotic.
Yeah, right. And I love these little bird animations they slip in various places. Oof.
Easy to do, I guess, because you don't have to animate the whole frame, just that corner.
Yeah, well, and you can still see the inset in these older animations. You can still see a little square form around them. It's very pleasantly quaint. But yeah, just the detailing, like, not just the textures, the fact that there's little bugs buzzing around. Red-tailed hawk, because inevitably every bird of prey sounds like red-tailed hawks. A tree like this would have been an absolute devil to chop down with just an axe.
Especially so smoothly.
Yeah, no. Would have looked like beavers had gotten into it, I think. But yeah, here we are, and yeah, you definitely get the impression of Gen as conquistador. He's having them chop down everything. But
what would he be making with all that wood?
Well, that is the question.
I think it's a boat.
The golden beetle didn't trigger that time. That's too bad. We'll see him later, I think. But yeah, if we go through like so, like this is just like easily one of my favorite parts of the game is just walking through this space. Yeah. Oh, wait, I'm gonna go.
Incredibly scary.
Yeah.
Oh, much less scary.
Yeah. Starting to definite motif forming here.
Then that choir kicks in.
Yeah. Like the bioluminescent water. There's a lot of bioluminescence in here generally, actually. And then there's the giant mushrooms that for some reason have fruit. Not sure how that works, but whatever.
Mushroom fruit. It's good for you.
Yeah, this is what you said earlier about things falling apart. Is like, here's your sign that there's something suspicious going on, is there's a great glowing hole in the ground, and that's generally not what you want. Can you imagine how hot it would be standing here?
Probably a little toasty.
Yeah, although I do like the nice touch that there's this particular species of plant that grows really well around this volcanic vent, but we don't see anywhere else. It's just good sense of details. No, I guess we came in the wrong door, but we come down this way. Great music. Yeah. Nice view of the big blue ocean that is, as you pointed out, determinately not moving. And then there's, this is one of those things you could very easily miss, but here again is Gen with his halo and a couple of whales that are about to get very well fed. So,
really hard to see on this screen.
Yeah.
Barely shows up, but it's
honestly
it appears to be holding two people, dropping them into whales.
Yep, no, definitely. Well, it wasn't that easy to see in the old days either. So if we emerge down here, nobody around much. Let's see what else. So yeah, like this is where I usually like to park the thing when I can.
It's the school bus stop.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, these houses are something else. I like how some of them have the doors pointing down because it's like, man, that must be a bit treacherous if you're not careful.
You imagine the people who have little extendable bridges.
You got the little knocker here. 2, 3.
I wonder what number of times you have to knock to get a response.
4, probably 5. Let's see if that does anything. Oh, maybe not. Well. Oh, no. Yeah, we are not receiving visitors, well-wishers, or distant relations, evidently. And especially not strangers. So yeah, they're just something else living on the cliff wall like this. And this is another nice little material culture thing. These fish hung up to dry.
They look like moths.
I think I always wonder about, and this is one of those things that, oh yeah, this is where we deploy the submersible, and I guess we interrupted a barbecue. Wonder if it's sunner meat from down on the shore there. And there's that. Yeah, right. There's the. I guess this is where Gen must like dispense his edicts, and he's always got to have his golden furnishings. My word.
I do wonder though, like, does he come down here personally?
Hard to imagine, but I guess maybe he did early on, but he seems to have built himself up to a position where he can be as aloof as he likes. You gotta wonder though. The only thing that always gets me is I think I tried in the past to like work out like how many people could possibly be living here. Did that sound like a baby crying?
It did, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's a nice touch. I don't think I've ever noticed that before. But
That's a nice touch. The sounds of distressed babies.
well, I mean, they distress pretty easily. Let's be fair. But so I'm just backtracking now. I tried I think I tried once to calculate like how many people would you have living in each of those houses, and would it give you like a sustainable population? Because this is one of those things that like they had to concede, a nice, neat little environment doesn't necessarily work for real life in terms of things like preventing, inbreeding. In the same way that there's so many of these island ages that we visited in Riven and in Myst that are just totally isolated and there's nobody else around, and it's just like, it's not always necessarily how that usually works. So.
Yeah, I mean, it gets complicated because the way these worlds are created is by people writing about them in books, and then.
Well, if you conform to Gen's theology, where he is indeed creating them, yeah. Although it's also, kind of understood that Riven's not doing so good either, as we.
Because of all the inbreeding.
Well, on a more geological sense than that, but yeah, it's a bit of a vagary, and like I think we'll dig into that a little bit more as we learn more about the implications of the island being unstable or whatever. That it just goes to show that just the side effects of, the necessities of making up a world building on the fly, which is what they were doing, which is fair enough. But I think so far we've explored about as much of the island as we reasonably can at this point. And then we find off on one of the paths in this garden this minecart. Shall we?
Sure. I don't even remember this being in it, so let's see what happens.
All right. Well, as with most things in Myst, you throw a lever.
Wrong lever.
It's going to feel like the wrong lever in a moment, I suspect, but because you're going to be wondering, what the heck did we get ourselves into?
Yeah. Oh yeah, remember that volcano crest we saw earlier?
Yeah.
Hot.
Yeah. On the other hand, not drowning.
Hot, cold.
Yeah. Because the water would be a little more of a sort of Mediterranean climate. Yeah.
Reminds me of that drug trip I saw in that movie while I was on that drug trip.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I had totally forgotten that.
Yeah, it's not quite as spectacular as the maglev rides, but it's something.
Again, just wrote an Age to be his own personal Disney World.
Yeah, it seems that way sometimes. Although, as I think we're about to notice, I don't think this one was designed to communicate people. Unless it's someone you have a rail narc on for, because, I don't think you'd want to take a ride in this normally.
The wood chipper we go.
Yeah, exactly.
End of game.
Well, or, as is the case in practice, insert disc, whatever it was, back in the day. Okay, so yet another island. I think we're 2 islands in. Not that we could get very far on Gold Dome Island at the beginning. We did all right. But I think we'll... I tell you what, before we explore this island, we'll take a break and I'll get to editing. But in the meantime, stay tuned and we'll see what the rest of Riven holds for us.
Wood chippers.
Yeah, evidently, at very least, wood chippers. Possibly volcanoes.